Welcome to How Now, the podcast where we talk about how to live in the now. And here's your host, Kim Martin Raymond.
Peace and blessings, love and light, and welcome to this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond, and I am a minister, spiritual life coach, holistic nutritionist, author, and founder of Redefining You LLC, where I help my clients to realign themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And welcome to season 6 of the How Now podcast. So glad that you are here to join us for this season 6, where we are talking about the year of execution. Okay, last year we did a 365-day challenge where we challenged people to create healthy habits, mind, body, and spirit. And again, this year, 2026, is all about execution. Okay, all about taking the tools and the habits and things that we learned and actually bringing them to fruition in this year. Okay, we also made it I've created special segments for this year where we're talking about, in one segment, the 12 spiritual principles with Dr. Reginald Howard, and where we're talking about living your purpose with Jason Gerardo, and then we're talking about spirit body transformation with myself and other special guests, where we're talking about things that we can do to physically take our wellness to the next level. And then we're going to be talking about the fourth segment, which is financial fitness. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. But if you are new to the How Now podcast, please make sure that you go over to my website, and that is www.hownowpodcast.com. Make sure that you click on your favorite podcast platform. Hold on a minute. You're going to see it in a minute. Click on your favorite podcast platform and be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. And then what you can do is go to the bottom of my page where you'll see a banner for this week's show, and that will take you to the How Now YouTube channel, where you can like, follow, share, and subscribe to any of my playlists, like Tuesday, where I share a different scripture verse every week. You could check out the 365-day challenge and any of the shows that you may have missed in previous seasons. So there's a lot to see on what's going on in my now on that How Now YouTube channel. So again, that's www.hownowpodcast.com. All right, so let's get into tonight's show. And like I said, we're going to be talking about financial fitness. And my guest, who is no stranger to the How Now podcast, is here to talk about, why financial literacy is not enough. It is the tax deadline is today, and we're going to be, making sure that people are in a good position as we're going into, this tax season, and people are asking for extensions and all of these things. But there's a lot about financial literacy that is not enough. So to help us go through the weeds of all of this is my lovely co-host, and she will be joining me throughout the season 6, throughout 2026. And so if you missed some of her, her episodes for March, February, and January, please make sure that you go again back to my website, www.hownowpodcast.com, and check those out. Check out the YouTube channel, which is scrolling across the bottom of the screen, and also information about her company as well. But as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have her to introduce herself at this time, and we'll get started.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kim. And hello on the How Now podcast audience. It's an honor to be here. My name is Leah Garcia, and I am the Dynasty Builder. And I bring you financial literacy in bite-sized golden nuggets. Yeah. I'm the one, after you've looked for everything, I'm the one who's going to help you properly protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth so that you can build that dynasty, because your wealth today should be and could be your dynasty tomorrow. Today's topic is going to be fire. I'm telling you, this is going to be copious note-taking time, but we're going to have some fun too. So we're good to go.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for being here, Leah. It's always a pleasure to share space with you and to definitely partake in those lovely golden nuggets that you share each and every time that you're here with us. So I'm glad that you're here, and I'm glad that we're talking about this topic of financial literacy because, as we know, it's not something that is taught in school or it wasn't taught in school when we were kids, and it's definitely been a challenge for people because as people are even doing social media and people are coming into hundreds and thousands of dollars and people are starting businesses and they have other opportunities where they're coming into lump sums of money and people are not really financially or financially literate enough to know what to do with that money. They see the flashiness, they see the cars and the houses and all of these things, but they also need to understand what it is to be financially literate so that they don't lose that money as fast as they've gained it, right?
Absolutely. And I like to talk about setting the table. Okay. Remember back in the day, old fashioned maybe, when we would set the table, we put all the place settings, we put the utensils, we'd have the little cup and saucer. We need to set our financial table. And what I mean by that is you got to be prepared to receive that wealth before it ever materializes and comes to you. Because if it's not prepared, listen, just like we know dinner's coming, we set the table because we know dinner's coming. We got to set our financial table because we got to expect that wealth is coming to us. But we got to be prepared. We have to be an open vessel. We have to know where that money's going before we receive it.
That's right. I love that. I love that. I love that analogy because that's true. We have to be prepared. It's not just a matter of waiting until it comes. It's anticipating it.
Yes.
And that's something that is so critical. And in a lot of aspects of our life, we need to prepare for it. We don't need the umbrella in the midst of the storm. We need it before it starts so that way we're protected. So I love that you say that. That's a wonderful analogy in making sure that preparation is made. And that's something I think that's missing.
It is missing. So I want everyone to think about it this way. Ask yourself a question like, how many books have you read? How many podcasts have you listened to? How many shows have you subscribed to? Maybe you've even purchased things online. So we've got tons of financial literacy, but we don't have enough financial doing. This is the truth. This is the truth. Financial literacy will make you informed, but it doesn't make you wealthy. What makes us wealthy is the implementation. It's not we need more knowledge. We need more action. We need more doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, people need to know where to start too. And it's just not something, I don't think enough of us have been in a position of having wealth or having established wealth or having a history of wealth in our family. And so just like with anything else, it becomes something that trickles down in our family. So if poor financial planning or mismanagement of funds is something that you grew up seeing or experiencing, it's difficult to make that shift because you don't know where to start.
Yeah. And we've given a lot of foundation. If they go back and watch the previous episodes, I say all progress starts by telling the truth. So the first thing is we have the illusion of financial literacy. We think that if we study about Bitcoin and real estate and the stock market, that we're going to get wealthy. But the truth of the matter is we have to lay that foundation. And I call it the wall of wealth. We have to put those pillars in first before we go to those other things. Otherwise, it's just the illusion of wealth.
I like that. That's key. An illusion. It's like you said, you can't build a house and start with the roof. Mm-hmm. It's nowhere to go from there.
Right.
And so it's like you said, having that foundation. So help us to begin to lay that foundation. Let's talk about how we begin to do that successfully.
I'll tell you what. Absolutely download my wall of wealth. And what I want you to do is think of it like a checklist. Go through it and see what is missing, what do you have, and what are you not sure about. Here's the first layer. Everyone starts here. And I would say 90% of things that go wampus is right here in the first layer. which is your health insurance, your life insurance, and a disability plan. Even if you have a full-time employer and you have state disability, you should have the proper type of health insurance. Some things to think about. Do you have a PPO? I never advocate for people to have an HMO. Know your deductibles, your out of pocket, right? Know your co-pays, understand what's covered and not covered. Number 2, life insurance. We got to have life insurance, folks. We got to take care of our family. If we're working hard to take care of our family now, doesn't it make sense to take care of our family when we're no longer here?
Yeah.
And then having a disability plan. This means you have state disability if you're a W-2. If you're a 1099, even if you're a W-2, you need a supplemental coverage. I love life insurance with living benefits. So this is about taking action. I'm not teaching you concepts that are esoteric, that you've got to sit down and do a lot of studying. Listen, look at your health insurance. You already have it. Make sure you understand it. If you don't have life insurance, call me, call somebody. Don't stop. Don't pass go. Get some life insurance. Term life insurance is a great place to start, and it has living benefits. So that will cover all of those things. And that is really where, like I said, 90% of people who come to me when things have gone awry has been right there. They didn't understand their deductible. They didn't understand what was not included in their health insurance. They thought an HMO meant that they could go to the doctor, the specialist out of state, and now they're stuck trying to get pre-authorization, and they can't get to the doctors that in hospitals that they want and need. Someone passes away and they're not prepared. They didn't have life insurance. They had a little policy through work, or worse yet, they let their policy lapse, right? We got to be vigilant about this. And then having living benefits, which those are the things that pay you if you get sick or hurt. Think of that kind of stuff, right? If you have a major accident or you have a major diagnosis, cancer, heart attack, stroke, those are things, even with the term policy, that will put dollars in your pocket. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in your pocket. And then you can go to the specialist you need to. You're not going to be worried about having to close down your business or take time off of work. So that's a real key place to start. So that's the first thing we can start to is to implement that. Really, really simple. To make a few phone calls and put those things in place and just understand what you have.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say it, because you don't really think, when you hear financial literacy, people are just thinking, oh, well, it has to just do with my finances and everything. No, but it does start with your health, because we have so many pre-existing conditions and things that are happening. People are passing away, untimely deaths. You read about that in the news every day. So, I mean, we have to take care of our vessel, our bodies first, and making sure that we're covered, because that wealth or that money that you may have is going to be funneled right into medical expenses. What are we seeing a lot of now? People taking care of their family, their elderly parents, and the exorbitant cost that comes with that. So, it's a lot of the finances, or even if you get a significant amount of money, let an illness or something come into play. And it's going to absorb and suck away a lot of that if you're not, clear on life insurance, like you said, health insurance. Those things are so important, like you said, to have in the place, because that's where no matter what tax bracket you're on, it's going to take a significant amount of your money if something should happen to you health-wise. So that's an excellent.
Yeah. And so many people are financially educated, but they're structurally unprepared. Remember, I'm going to refer back to this many times. We got to set the table. Okay. We got to make sure we have the right things in place, but financially, foundationally, so that we're prepared when that windfall comes, when that inheritance comes, whenever that tax return comes, and now you've got this bucket of money. Know the things that you need to put in place, and take a good look at where you're spending your money, right? What is your spending plan? Do you know where all of your money is going? And I'm going to say this, every time I go through this exercise with a client, I find them money every single time. They're either overspending on something, not by my standards, but they find that they're double spending. They find areas that they were unaware of that they didn't need to have these kinds of coverages. They determined that, there's some other ways that they can pay down their debt quickly. Here's the biggest 3 things that people do. They overpay on their debt, they lose money in their retirement accounts, and they overpay Uncle Sam. Okay, I don't care about the Starbucks. Go have the Starbucks, go have the latte, do those things. I want to make sure you are financially sound here. Let's not overpay on our debt. Let's get that debt paid off. And there's a lot of great things to do with that. Number two, look at your retirement plans. Look at your 401ks and IRAs. Look at everything that you have that's supposed to be accumulating wealth. And if you're losing money, that should be a key right there. And if you are overpaying Uncle Sam, that's a whole nother thing. We got to talk about advanced tax planning.
So like you said, it's a lot. It's a lot to consider. Like you said, because you're thinking, oh, I'm overpaying on my debt. I think the biggest thing, and this is something I can speak from a personal experience, is just when you start looking at your monthly expenses, you think about all the little subscriptions and things that you have. It's $1 and change here, or it's $9.99 there. You just think, yeah, it's just a small amount. But when you really sit down and start looking at exactly how much you pay in subscriptions and other little things, and at one point, I found out that I was paying the same thing. When I looked at my statement, I was paying for the same thing twice in a month. And I was like, wait a minute. Why do they have two accounts for this? And why did I not notice this? And nobody was going to notify me that I was paying, because they were just going to gladly swipe the card and take whatever it was that they needed to. And a lot of it is really sitting down and seeing where your finances are going. And I think that's the deception. The deception is when you're sitting there and you're saying, oh, it's just a little $9 here. Oh, it's a little $6 here. But it adds up. It adds up. You realize that when you're standing in the store and you're buying this item for $9.99, this item for $6.99, this item for $7.99. And then by the time you get up there to the register and they start putting taxes on it, you're just like, whoa, I didn't realize I spent that much. But when you don't see it, on your statement, and you're not following it, you don't notice it as quickly. And so, we really have to be cognizant of our spending and how much it adds up.
Yeah, it's really being vigilant, right? It is being cognizant. And it's also understanding that all progress starts by telling the truth. I don't care about flipping real estate if you don't have a financial plan, if you don't have a spending plan, because as quickly as you get it, is as quickly as you're going to lose it, because you don't have no idea where it's going, how much you need, what things cost. Like, we got to set that table. We got to know what we're going to do with that money when we receive it. If we're working hard, we've got a side hustle, we've got a business, we're going to our job, we're getting up early, we're staying up late, doesn't it make sense to understand where that money's going? And when you do receive that abundance of wealth, what you're going to do with it?
Right. And the answer is not, oh, I've got more, so let me spend more.
Woo! Say that again. That's a gold bar.
That's a gold nugget right there. Just because you have more doesn't mean that you have to spend more, because then when you have to make any type of pivots, you haven't left anything. You should be looking at, oh, look, now I've got a little bit more to put into savings. Not, oh, I've got a little bit more to spend. And that's what happens. We get excited and we want to spend all the money because we want to have all the shiny and new things, and that's not going to help us in the long run. And so I think it's important that we, not take that for granted, that when we're getting that, how are we going to use that money? Think about now, gas prices are going up, where you used to be able to, spend $30, $40 or whatever to get a full tank of gas. Now that price is doubling. Now, what are you doing? You're taking money that, do you have something so that when crises like this or things like this happen, that you can tap into that as an extra resource and not say, oh, wow, man, now that gas prices are going up, I need to make more money. I need to raise that work. No, we need to just learn how to better manage the money that we have and see that it can stretch, in different ways.
And to your point, my mentor, who is a billionaire, lives in the same house that he's lived in for 30 years. Warren Buffett, who's a multi-billionaire, he lives in the same house he bought, I think, 40 years ago for like $192,000. So just because we increase our annual income doesn't mean that we need to increase our expenses.
That's it. I mean, that's a mouthful right there. That's the whole show. Don't Don't get in that space of thinking just because I have more, now I'm going to go and get more. I'm going to go and get an extra car. I'm going to go. And that's the thing. We see all of these things, and that's the portrayal. Oh, I can have luxury cars. I can have, well, how many cars can you drive at one time?
There you go.
I drive one. So fine. Yeah. So you can pick one every other day. Okay. Really? What are you spending your money on, and is what you're spending your money on creating legacy for not only yourself but for your family?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of having all those cars and then you pass away and then you don't have things so now they've got to sell those luxury cars that you wanted so bad just to bury you.
Right.
It's just understanding, what is it that I need and what is it that I'm just getting just for show? How is that going to help me in the long run?
And that comes from, to me, not being firm in your core values. Not knowing what really is important to you. And I'm all for having nice things. I'm all for having the beautiful house and the shiny cars and all that, for sure. But what I'm saying is we have to be very vigilant about how we're doing that. It's got to be strategy. So I don't want to get too much into that, but just really think about, okay, if I need a new car, let's plan for it. Don't go and buy it on a whim because you got a raise. Right? Buy a car that's 2 years old. Buy a car that's used. I mean, heck, these used cars now, they look better and work better than the brand new car. So, think about it before you do.
I'm there. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, what is something that I can wait on? And is it something, if I have a vehicle, something that is working well and is doing what it needs to do for now, that's where, and let's just go with cars. If when I was looking for a car, I was like, is it going to be to my benefit to get a used car and to do that? Or is it better for me to take that same money and put it into the existing car that I have? And and those were some of the things that I had, those are some of the options that I had to weigh when I was looking at getting into another vehicle. It was the car that I had was significantly older in years. And I knew that I went and had it looked at and saw how much it was going to cost to make repairs to it. And it was going to be worth more. I mean, the value of the car wasn't going to be, the cost to repair it was going to be more than the value of the car itself if I got to a space where I needed to resell it. So it just didn't make, financial sense to do that. It was like, okay, it would be better for me to trade this car in and look into getting another car and then seeing about financing it. So just like you said, it's a matter of setting the table. We can make a decision about, what do I need to purchase? Okay, now what are the things that I need to do? What are the things that I need to bring to the table so that when I make this purchase, it's going to make financial sense. So I like that. I like that setting the table.
Yeah, and it's called delayed gratification. Listen, we're in a microwave society when most of us have these crock pot, slow cooking dreams. Most of the dreams you have are 10, 20, 30 years down the line, and that's okay. Remember, money loves speed, but wealth takes time. It's those little pockets of money that you squirrel away, okay? So, and then I would say, in the beginning, I said, I'm going to help you protect, distribute, and transfer your wealth. I want your listeners to understand what I mean by that. Protect your wealth means having the right insurances in place, your health insurance, your life insurance, your disability, and also protecting what you've accumulated. If you're still riding the roller coaster up and down, you're excited because you said that your 401k doubled. Is that really a real gain, or is it a paper gain? If the stock market crashes, could you lose it? So we got to actually secure what we have, right? So that's the protection. Distributing it. How are you going to spend your money? You want to make sure that you cannot outlive your money. That's the biggest fear most people have, is outliving their money. So we got to put things in place like creating your passive income, Also having something that you're transferring your money into that will pay you income the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. And then when we talked about the transferring it, that's about legacy. That's about your dynasty. Do you have a proper estate plan in place? Meaning it is your, not just your will, not just your living trust, but it has all the supporting documents. That's real estate planning. Do you have the power of attorney, the medical releases, and all that supporting documentation so that if you were to be pass away or become incapacitated, you know where your wealth is going and how it's going to be distributed? Because that's the thing that people always say. They always think that I already have a will, or I don't need it, I don't have enough. Listen, we all need an exit plan.
Yeah. Yeah. That is critical. You said a mouthful there, because we get into a space of of being comfortable with, oh no, it's going to resolve itself. And that's never the case. We just think, oh well, it's going to handle, or the person who I leave behind is going to handle all of those things, but you haven't given them the tools to do that with. And so, just like you said, even if it's at the most minimal level, at least make the inquiries to start seeing what it is that you need to do. What is something that I can do now? What is something that I can do, and not wait? Because when we wait, the longer we wait, the more difficult it is to obtain those programs and things that we need. So we may age out of those programs. We may not be able to go as aggressive as we could have had we done it at an earlier time. And so, that therein lies again the literacy, learning a little bit more, but not just learning it and not doing anything with it, but executing it. Just like I said at the top of the show, this is the year of execution. What are you doing with the information that you're getting? It's not just enough to gatekeep it, or it's not just enough to say, oh, I heard about this, or oh, I spoke to somebody. Okay, you spoke to somebody. What were the next steps?
That's absolutely on point. We got to take action. Like if you say, I already know it, have you done it? That's a test to know if you really know something. Have you actually done it? So do you have a spending tracker? Have you evaluated your coverages? Do you have a current and properly funded living trust? That's the term I want your viewers to understand. It's not just having a living trust or a will. It's a current and properly funded living trust. That's the key. That's the key. And if we don't leave the instructions for people for when we're no longer here, you're requiring them to guess what is important to you. You're requiring them to make a lot of assumptions. You're leaving a lot of hurt feelings and unanswered questions to your loved ones. I mean, take the time. I know it's difficult. These are hard conversations. I get it. That's why you need someone to help you, take you through the process. Don't try to do it yourself. That doesn't work anyway, just so you know. The DIY, it doesn't work in financial services. Okay.
No. Absolutely. And that's the thing. It's being able to articulate. And I say that it's the same. It holds true even when you're talking about your health. You have to be able to articulate things. You have to be able to tell somebody. If I tell somebody, oh, I have a trust. Well, what kind of trust do you have, and what does it do? If I can't articulate what it is that I have, that right there is a red flag that says, okay, I need to dig a little deeper. I need to ask some questions so that I should be able to explain to somebody what my financial advisor has explained to me about the benefits or the services that I have. And if I'm not able to do that, then I need to go back to my financial advisor and say, okay, I need for you to explain this to me in layman's terms, so that I can explain it to someone else if I want to help them to begin to get on track financially. We have to be able to share that information in a way that shows that we've gripped it, or we've understood what it was that we've learned. It's not just enough to know it. We have to be able to share it and to be able to articulate it, so that way, if we're taking a misstep or if there's something wrong, we can see what it is, because we know the terminology.
That's
Yeah.
right. And it doesn't mean that you got to go and get a law degree. It doesn't mean you need to go and get your Series 6 and 63 and get your life insurance license. What it means is that you should be able to explain it easily enough so that you understand what you have. Don't just assume and trust that it's put together, because guess what? That person that helped you may not have you may not have communicated exactly what you wanted, or they may have misunderstood you. Like, you really have to understand the things you have in place. Listen, this is your money. This is your table, right? So why not have the things that you know and like and can appreciate, rather than leaving it up to chance and for someone else to decipher and decode?
Right. I think that's critical. That's definitely another nugget. I hope you all are writing that down. It's important that you understand, and like she said, that you have the things on the table that are going to be satisfactory for you. You know, because we never know, something can happen to your financial advisor, and if you're expecting to oh, well, that person will always be there, I'll just go back and ask them at a later time. Suppose something happens. Now you're stuck, and you can't articulate what it is that you have to even pass that information on to the next person. You know, if I'm creating a fund, or I'm learning about those things, I want to make sure that I share them with my daughter, with my granddaughter, in a way that they can understand, so that way they can say, oh, we've had that conversation. And those are the kinds of conversations that we have to become more comfortable with, and not making it something taboo. You know, the things like when we're talking about financial fitness and we're talking about the importance of financial literacy, think about when you're purchasing a house. You're trying to look at all of the pages. There's a lot of things to sign. You're putting your name on a lot of things. And if I'm putting my name on something, or I'm signing that I agree to something, I need to make sure that I'm reading it and that I'm coherent and that I'm understanding what it is that I'm signing to, because that's what happens when you don't read the fine print. Things happen and you say, well, I thought, and they're like, no, it was right there in the paperwork. It was right there on page 83, but I skimmed over it. I just was signing in my excitement to get it, done, and didn't realize what the consequences would be, if I did X, Y, and Z. So it's important for us to make sure that we're taking the time to read what we're signing off on as well.
Yeah. And also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said that's with anything. You read what you sign, so you know what you're signing up for.
Yeah, and I want to highlight something you kind of alluded to, and that is, don't go to your financial advisor and say, I want this. Tell them your end vision. What do you want? And allow them to share with you the options. So in other words, sometimes people come to me and they say, well, I want cash value life insurance. And then I find out what they're really talking about is they want to trust. So don't go asking for a particular product. Tell your person what you want, what the end result is, where you want to be in 20, 30 years, what is the legacy you want to leave, what's your dynasty, and then allow them to share with you the options, because there's a lot of things that are available that you may not know about, you may not have heard about, that they may have in their tool belt. And if you've got this tunnel vision, you're kind of limiting their expertise. A good advisor is going to have many different systems. They're going to have a lot of referral partners. They're going to have strategies that they don't share with everyone. A lot of my products are very customized to each individual. So you want to let them show you what do they call it? The secret menu. Let them show you the secret menu. There you go. I just said it. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Okay? Let them show you the secret menu, because that's when you get the custom. That's when you get the real deal.
Right. It's like you said, it's important, and that's when we have to really sit down and have a conversation with ourselves. And especially if you're married, you have a significant other, and you have to really stop and see how each one of you are going to be affected by the financial decisions that you make. So the more people that are involved in those financial decisions, the more you need to sit down at that table that you're creating and make sure that you're all on the same page. Because that's the thing too. You're thinking or you're making assumptions. And like I said, myself, I was guilty of that as we were creating my trust with my husband. There were things that we just assumed were things that we would do, and we didn't realize that there were some additional steps that needed to be, need to go into play in order for it to work out in a way that we both, agreed on. And so, it's having those conversations. You have to have the conversations and make no assumptions on what you think could possibly be. You really need to stop and take the time to say, okay, this is what I want. Again, this is what I want the end result to be. And then start asking those important questions, because then, like you said, that's going to open the door to options that you have into customizing, something that's going to be right for you.
Yeah. And I love this. We're so in sync. I mean, you just pre-framed it so perfectly, because I want to talk about not just having your family on the same sheet of music, but I want your advisors to be on the same sheet of music. I call it the 4 pillars you need on your team. The 4 pillar professionals you need on your team. You want them all singing the same song. Otherwise, it's a solo. It's out of sync. Those 4 pillars are your tax professional. It may be a CPA, it may be a enrolled agent, I'm not sure, but you want somebody who specializes in your industry. So if you're a W-2 employee, what is your career? If you own a business, you have a side hustle, you want somebody, if you get a referral for a tax professional from your plumber and you are a violinist, you probably don't have the right CPA, right? You want a CPA or tax professional that specializes in your industry. Number 2, you want an estate planning attorney, somebody who's going to help you to begin with the end in mind, leaving the wills and living trust. And maybe your business needs that estate planning too. Number 3, you need your tax attorney, because the worst time to look for a tax attorney is when you need one. Okay, you want to have a relationship and a conversation. If you need it, can your advisor introduce you to a tax attorney? And number 4 is your financial strategist. You need somebody who's going to play chess, not just looking at the onesie and twosie and playing checkers. You want somebody that with a vision that as big as you are, that can see the things coming down the pipeline, that can see the pitfalls. They see those booby traps that are there lurking in the background to help you to properly protect what you have. And that's those 4 pillars. You want them all communicating together. They know each other. They understand what the plan is, so that you have somebody that is going to really be customizing that solution. That's the best solution for you.
I love that. I love that 4 pillars. And that's just like with anything, you have to have a team. There's not one person that specializes in everything. And so just like you said, you need to have that. And that's going to give you different perspectives and different opinions as well. And that's going to, like you said, help to customize your program. I didn't know that there were 4 different. I would have just been like, oh, all you just need is a CPA, or all you just need is a financial advisor. Not realizing that there are different aspects, and there are people that are going to specialize in those. Just like when you talk about your medical team, you're going to have a urologist, and if you're a woman, a gynecologist, and then you'll have your primary care physician. So they all specialize in something different, and so you've got to make the right combination for your financial fitness and your financial wellness as well. So I love that you bring that to light, because that's not something that everybody knows about. Just like you said in the beginning, financial literacy is not enough. It's not enough. It's got to be, us taking time to really determine what it is that we want, how we want it, what we want it to look like, who we're leaving it for, what's going to happen if we're not here to execute those things. And those are all vital questions as part of your financial portfolio. So I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because it's important, and it's important for us to get to that space of knowing and understanding, so
I know, and isn't it fun? Isn't it so much fun learning about money?
I want to learn about it so I know how to keep it, because these are harsh times that we're in, and people are feeling the pinch, and if we're strategic about how we're doing it, the pinch won't be as detrimental as we make it out to be, when it's just sometimes a matter of us making a few tweaks and a few adjustments, so we're not feeling undue pressure.
Absolutely.
I think that sometimes happens. I think that sometimes what happens is we're thinking, oh, well, I don't have it, and no, I can't do this, and no, I don't have the money, and yeah, the money is there, we just can't see it.
Woo!
Can't see it.
You're always dropping those gold bars. I love you so much. That is so gold. I love it. I love it. Love it. Listen, most wealth isn't lost in the stock market. It's lost in the blind spots. And we're going to talk about the blind spots. I call these the wealth killers. Okay. There's basically four. I could add a whole laundry list. So I'm going to give you four of the top three wealth killers that I see. Number one, long-term care. Don't assume that your Medicare pays for long-term care. Okay. We got to have something in place for long-term care. Taxes without a strategy. Now, I don't mind paying my fair share of taxes, but I don't want to overpay my fair share of taxes. Market volatility at the wrong time with the wrong product. Listen, if you've got a long time horizon, then maybe you can take a loss. But if you're closer, I call it in the retirement red zone, 5 years or 5 to 10 years from retirement, we got to start being more conservative. And that doesn't mean not gaining your money. Okay. It doesn't mean not growing your money. It means we're taking less risk. Take some risk off the table. Start to realize your gains. That means to put those gains in your pocket. That's actual spendable money. And then number four is a lack of proper protection, not having the right vehicles in place for your insurance. Really take some time to review what you have, sit down. I know it will be uncomfortable at first, but it's something that you should do annually. When that open enrollment comes around, look at what you have. Ask some questions. Ask your HR department. Talk to your advisor. That's what they're there for. If they can't explain it to you or they're unwilling to do that, then I'd say it's probably respectfully time to find somebody new.
Man, makes sense. Makes sense. And I think that's what happens. A lot of us just, it's so much red tape on it. So much fine print. People are just like, I'm just going to go, well, what do you think? And then they just sign off on things and really are not understanding what they're signing off on. And we really have to stop and invest in ourselves in more than one way. If we're investing in our wellness and our physical wellness, we definitely have to invest in our financial wellness. Otherwise, we're going to stay in that space of dis-ease, dis-ease, discomfort, because we're not, taking the time to read the fine print. At some point, we have to sit down and be honest with ourselves and have that conversation and say, look, this is my life.
Right.
And if I'm not willing to take the time to understand or to walk with somebody who's going to at least help me get through some of these weeds, help me get through some of this, I'm doing myself a disservice. So when we talk about healthy habits, create that healthy habit of asking those questions and of setting that foundation, like you said in the beginning, of setting that table with all of the things that we're going to need. We don't want to forget the spoon or the fork. We don't want to have the knife without the fork. We don't want to have the food on the table without a plate. So it's just a matter of saying, what are some things that we need? I love this conversation.
Yeah. And then we have to think about how are we going to transfer the wealth that we have. If we don't transfer it properly, it's going to disappear. No matter how much money you leave in your family, if you don't have something in place that teaches them what to do with that wealth, they're going to squander it. And I will tell you a story, and this is a hard story to tell. I don't like to think about this, but I want to tell this story. I had someone who was referred to me, and he came to me, renting a room, working at a grocery store, no credit cards, no debt, really didn't have anything to monetarily to speak of. And he was going to be inheriting a significant amount of money. He said, you know what, Leah, I don't have anything. I want to make sure I set up my kids. Promise me. I want to know what I'm going to do with this money. Promise me that we put things in place. I'm like, okay, I got you. What do you want to do? How do you want to set it up? So we went and we set his table. Everything was ready. It was prepared. When he received the money, we knew where it was going to go. He said, I asked him, do you need a car? He's like, I don't need a car. I work across the street. Okay, you rent a room right now. Do you want to rent a house or potentially buy a house? He's like, no, I love my roommates. I love my life. I'm perfect here. Okay, is there anything that you want to purchase? Anything else? He said, no, I just want to make sure I set up my family. And then guess what happened? He received that money, about $500,000, which to me is a significant lump sum of money.
Yeah.
when it came time to start to put things in place, he said, I think I want to wait a little bit. My daughter needs some money. My son needs some money. I want to buy I saw this Corvette. I don't need a car, but man, it's a beautiful car.
Wow.
And he kind of went off into the sunset until about a year and a half later. I found out that he passed away while on the job. They found him in the restroom at the grocery store. Bought 2 cars. He had bought the Corvette, which is about $80,000, a beautiful car. And he bought an RV, which he didn't need. He ended up putting some money into some investments. One of the children had an idea to open up some kind of a business that was, I heard it was like 200,000. I don't know what it was.
Right.
At the end, you know what, Miss Kim, this pains me to say this. He didn't do anything that he said. He didn't put life insurance in place. He put nothing in place for his kids. He put nothing in place for his grandkids. And I carried that around for a long time because he told me, I want to do something different. And he didn't do anything different. And why I'm sharing this story with you is because we got to make that decision and then we got to go for it. We got to take that action. Just like you said, this is the time to take the action. And maybe you don't know all the perfect things. Maybe you might make some mistakes. Maybe you should have got this kind of a trust and you got something a little bit different. Maybe you got some cash value when you need a term life insurance. Listen, it might be a little wonky, but do something. Take some action and put the things in place so that your family has the wealth that you're passed down. Because if not, if you don't put those things in place, your family, that you're leaving passed down to your family is going to be confusion. You're going to leave them with a disaster. They end up having a GoFundMe in order to bury him. That's how bad it was.
Wow. And like you said, stories like this are happening every day. Like you said earlier, we live in this microwave society, and where we're getting things fast, things are happening fast, and we have to be able to keep up with the with the way the car is rolling, I guess, so to speak. What do you do? What do you do when you come into these large sums of money? Like I said, people are doing things online and coming into wealth in an instant, and they're ill prepared. I have family members who are, were at one point millionaires,
Right.
and did not, were not properly educated in how to invest and what to do with that money, and they lost it.
Right.
And that's a hard spot to be in, because, even if you lose it, if you lost it, what happens when you lose it and then you still didn't learn and you have an opportunity to gain it again? You're still going to keep making the same mistakes because you haven't learned from them. Okay.
Right.
We have to learn even from the little minor mistakes that we make. If I went into my account and saw that I was paying double for something and I didn't do anything about it, I'm doing myself a disservice. I'm just throwing money away. So even if we start at the smallest level, what are some things that we're doing that we can do differently now that's going to help save, even if it's just $10, even if it's just $5? What are we doing that we can change? And something that we can do, like you said, is to have that financial tracker. Let's see where we are so that we can know where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be difficult, but if you have the right person who's going to walk through every process with you, hopefully it'll be palatable. And, because we don't build a family dynasty by accident. We have to build it on purpose. Growing money is one muscle. We've been in a bull market for forever. Anyone can help you grow your money. The key is to protect it, distribute, and transfer it properly, the way you want it to be protected, distributed, transferred, right? The way you want, what's important to you, with your values, with your family legacy. That's what it's about. You got to have 100-year thinking. What is it I want to leave 100 years from now? Maybe it's just me. I'm a little corny, but I'm going to tell you, I intend that my great, 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 great grandchildren are going to see my picture, this crankety old woman over the fireplace, and they're going to say, you know what? Do you know why our family is the way that we are? Do you know why we have the legacy that we have? Do you know why we have the dynasty? It's because of what your great, 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 great grandmother did for us, what she set up for us. And you know what? Every single one of your viewers, to a person, can do that. I'm not special. I'm not different. I just have what, 100-year thinking.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to do that. That's why you are the dynasty builder, because it's all about taking those steps, making sure that we're, not putting ourselves in a space of wisdom. And just like you said at the very beginning, it's not about it's not just enough to have that literacy. It's making sure that we're executing on what it is that we're learning. Okay, so what are some other final things, some thoughts that we can leave with our listeners? As again, the tax deadline is today, and they've got we still want to start. Those who are getting a return and may come into some significant money. What are some things that they can make sure that they're doing? I know we've laid the foundation talking about life insurance and talking about health insurance and things of that nature. What are some final thoughts that we can leave with them?
Yeah, if you're getting a tax refund, resist the temptation to upgrade your car and go on vacation. I know those sound really sexy, but I would urge you to squirrel some away for an emergency. Folks, a credit card is not an emergency fund. The equity in your house is not an emergency fund. Okay, an emergency fund is cash you can get to in case of an emergency. I like to think of it as an opportunity account. Maybe you have an opportunity to buy that Corvette at a significant discount for $5,000. Maybe you have an opportunity to start a business. Maybe you have an opportunity to do something that you've always wanted to do and suddenly it comes knocking on your door. Can you have that money put aside? Would it change your life? Would it build your dynasty? Would it do something totally that transforms you and the way that you look at wealth? So squirrel that money away for sure. Look at some of your debt, and people like the snowball debt. I say the snowball has melted. You're going to hear it here. I say the debt snowball. I say it's squashed. It's outplayed. No, we're not doing the debt snowball. But what I would do is I would look at, how can I quickly pay off this debt? Can you call your creditors and negotiate with them? Listen, I've got lump sum X amount of money. I can pay it off right now. And you can tell me I'm in good standing and call it good. Can you open a solo 401k and borrow the money and pay yourself back? Right? Can you open up a HELOC? That's a great way to be able to quickly pay down your debt and be completely out of debt. I'm talking about mortgage and everything. I help people get out of debt with a 30-year mortgage in 7 to 10 years without paying extra. So look at some of these things that you can put in place so that you can get out of debt, squirrel some money aside, and then we can talk about next steps. Then what if you want to start, maybe you want to upgrade some things, then we can talk about it, but at least do those minimum.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. This is, like I said, been a wonderful conversation. It's a timely conversation. So, I'm always looking forward to our segments on financial fitness because it is so important. It is because it's going to affect us mentally. It's going to affect us physically when we are not financially fit and when we're in a space of high stress and all of those things that come along with the strains of being not financially fit. So I appreciate this time. I love it when you're here. Please make sure that you go contact Leah if you have any questions. Definitely check out her Wall of Wealth. And, like I said, scrolling on the bottom of the screen has been her information and mine. So make sure you go back and check out the previous segments that we've had on financial fitness, since the beginning of this year. And we look forward to the rest of the year and the other financial fitness tips that Leah will be sharing with us. So again, Leah, thank you for sharing space and time with us and for keeping us on track with the things that we're doing, and make sure that you are writing these things down, picking up those nuggets, going back and listening and seeing how you can go ahead and advance. Okay, so with that, I'm going to say thanks again for being here. We appreciate you. We love you. And we look forward to seeing you next month. And that will do it for this edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until I see you all the next time, say peace.